To the weakest link. Any of the 9 people in the studio here today could win up to £10,000. They don't know each other, however. If they want the prize money, they'll have to work as a team. But 8 of them will leave with nothing, as round by round we lose the player voted the weakest link. Let's meet the team.
I'm Steve, I'm 44 and I'm a police officer from Liverpool.
I'm Sarah, I'm 30, from Wolverhampton, and I work for a water company.
I'm George, I'm 52, from County Durham, and I'm a supervisor.
I'm Aaron, I'm 20, and I'm a politics and economics student from Beckenham in Kent.
I'm Gail, I'm 27, I'm a credit controller from Manchester.
I'm CJ, I'm 30, I'm a retired model from Hove.
I'm Vivian, I'm 46, I'm a teacher and I'm from Lincolnshire.
I'm Kevin, I'm 37 and I'm a professional singer from Birmingham.
I'm Christine, I'm 39 and I'm a teaching assistant from Hemel Hempstead.
Now the rules. In each round the aim is to answer enough questions correctly to reach your £1,000 target within the time limit. The fastest way is to create a chain of 9 correct answers. Get your question wrong and you break the chain and lose all the money in that chain. But if you say bank before the question is asked, the money is safe. However, you start a new chain from scratch. Remember, at the end of the round, only money that has been banked can be taken forward. In round 1, there are 3 minutes on the clock. We'll start with the person whose name is first alphabetically. That's you, Aaron. Let's play the weakest link. And the first question is for £20. Start the clock. Aaron, complete the title of the James Joyce novel, A Portrait of the Artist, as a what?
Young man.
Correct. Gail. In the animal kingdom, how many humps does an Arabian camel have?
3.
1. CJ. Was the Greek philosopher Aristotle born AD or BC?
BC.
Correct. Vivian. In sport, which darts player is nicknamed the Crafty Cockney?
Eric Bristow.
Correct. Kevin. In the USA, which state covers the greatest area of land?
Texas.
Alaska. Christine. What S is a French term used to describe a spiritualist meeting?
Seance.
Correct. Steve. Is the scientific symbol of the female a circle with a cross or a circle with an arrow?
It's a circle with a cross.
Correct. Sarah. Whose film of the 1990s included The Postman and Waterworld?
Kevin Costner.
Correct. George. Is the Tropic of Cancer north or south of the equator?
North.
Correct. Aaron.
Bank.
Pop group Wet 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 were from which British country?
Manchester.
Scotland. Gail. Who wrote the novel The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Robert Louis Stevenson. CJ. In nature, what A is the tip of the stamen that produces the pollen grains in a plant?
Pass.
Anther. Vivian. In the UK, are 0345 telephone numbers charged at local or national rate?
National.
Local. Kevin. Was the hovercraft invented by an Englishman or a Frenchman?
An Englishman.
Correct. Christine. Which bee is the marine crustacean that commonly attaches itself to the hull of ships?
Barnacle.
Correct. Steve. Which of these cities is furthest from London by plane, Havana or Hong Kong?
Hong Kong.
Correct. Sarah. Which gas is commonly known as laughing gas?
Nitrous oxide.
Correct. George.
Bank.
In the year 2000, which pop star announced her divorce before she'd announced she was married?
Pass.
Janet Jackson. Aaron. David Lloyd George was the last leader of which political party to become British Prime Minister?
Liberal Party.
Correct. Gail. In sport, on what would you find a point, a barrel and a flight?
Golf.
A dart. CJ, complete the title of this Cole Porter song, Let's Do What?
Make love.
Let's Do It. Vivian, if you were travelling on a wagon Lee, how would you be travelling?
On a train.
Correct. Kevin, in TV, Timothy West played Bradley Hardacre in which comedy series of the 80s?
Pass.
Brass. Christine, how many kilograms make up 1 metric ton?
Pass.
1,000. Steve, in fashion, what type of garment is a cloche?
A headgear.
Hat. Correct. Sarah. Tamworth and Berkshire are both breeds of which farm animal?
Pig.
Correct. George.
Bank.
Does the city of Carlisle lie on the eastern or western end of Hadrian's Wall?
At the western end.
Correct. Aaron.
Bank.
In a US postal address, MN is the abbreviation. Time's up, I can't complete the question. And of the £1,000 available, you won 470. The question is, who at this very early stage is looking worryingly slow?
Just one of those things. It was my day today. I think the next candidate to be nominated out may be Vivian. She struggled with a couple of the easier questions which I could have answered, and vice versa, really.
Round 2, you've won £470 so far out of a possible £1,000. 8 players are left. We are now taking 10 seconds off the clock. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Sarah. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Sarah, in which century did Colley Cibber become the English Poet Laureate?
14th.
18th century. George, what M is a large tent or a canopy over the entrance to a building?
Marquee.
Correct. Aaron, who played James Bond in the films For Your Eyes Only and Live and Let Die?
Sean Connery.
Roger Moore. CJ, in cookery, when using a pestle and mortar set, which is the bowl?
The mortar.
Correct. Vivian, with which garden flower is George Russell, who grew them on allotments in York, particularly associated? Lupins or tulips?
Tulips.
Lupins. Kevin, in biology, the stirrup is the common name for a small bone found in what
In the
part
ear.
of the human? Correct. Christine, are there more or less than 4 litres in 1 gallon?
More.
Correct. Steve, in television, Michael Elphick and Angela Thorne starred in which sitcom about 2 unlikely flatmates?
Flatmates.
3 up, 2 down. Sarah, in politics, what 4-word phrase describes the electoral system in which the candidate with the highest number of votes is elected?
First past the post.
Correct. George, when correctly spelt, does the word biggest have 1 or 2 G's?
2.
Correct. Aaron, what colour is a youth hostel triangle on the Auden survey map?
Pink.
Correct. CJ, how many metres are equivalent to 39.37 inches?
1.
Correct. Vivian, in the animal kingdom, albacore is a variety of which edible fish?
I don't know.
Tuna. Kevin, in pop music, In the Navy was a hit for which American group of the 70s?
YMCA.
Village
Village
People.
People.
Christine, Hamburg and Hanover are cities in which country?
Germany.
Correct. Steve, with what sport would you associate Jean Alesi?
Golf.
Motor racing. Sarah, does the Pacific Ocean lie off the east coast or the west coast of South America?
East.
West. George, in how many Rocky films has Sylvester Stallone appeared?
5.
Correct. Aaron, pertussis is the medical name for which childhood disease, mumps or whooping cough?
Whooping cough.
Correct. CJ, which painter immortalised the dancer Jane Avril in posters for the Moulin Rouge?
Renoir.
Toulouse-Lautrec. Vivian, in Britain, can an unaccompanied 11-year-old legally buy a pet?
No.
Correct. Kevin, which English football team had a UK top 10 chart hit with Blue is the colour in 1972?
Chelsea.
Correct. Christine,
Bank.
in food, which pulse forms the basis of the Greek dish hummus?
Chickpea.
Correct. Steve, in which English
Bank.
city is the Central School of Speech and Drama?
Newcastle.
London. Sarah.
Bank.
Until 1918, Austria was joined in a dual monarchy with which country? Time's up. The correct answer was Hungary. Dear, dear, dear. In that round, team, you banked £70. Who's not coping with the pressure? Who is...
If I'd had another chance, I think I would have gone on further in the game. Having said that, they had no choice other than to vote the weakest link off, and that was me that time. I think that Vivian will be voted off next, because Vivian was the next highest scorer for votes in that round.
Round 3. In the bank, you've got £540. You could, of course, by now have had £2,000. 7 players left. We're taking another 10 seconds off the clock. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Christine. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Christine, in science, does alkaline soil have a pH level greater or less than 6 or 7?
Greater.
Correct. Sarah, in poetry, did Ted Hughes or Cecil Day-Lewis become the English Poet Laureate first?
Ted Hughes.
Cecil Day-Lewis. George, which John Grisham novel was turned into a film in 1994 starring Susan Sarandon?
Thelma and Louise.
The Client. Aaron, which animal has the Latin name Bufo bufo, a toad or a cat?
Toad.
Correct. CJ, which English woman became notorious in 1963 for revealing her affairs with a Soviet naval attaché and the British Secretary of State for War?
Christine Keeler.
Correct. Vivian, in astrology, name one of the 2 months you could have been born if your star sign was Sagittarius.
December.
Correct. Kevin, in which year was the Berlin Wall erected?
1961.
Correct. Christine, in football, which Arsenal midfielder was sent off in their first 2 Premiership games this season?
Patrick Vieira.
Correct. Sarah, in which decade did Richard Branson complete his first crossing of the Atlantic in a hot air balloon?
80s.
Correct. George, in film, which cast member of The Godfather refused to accept his Oscar?
Marlon Brando.
Correct. Aaron, in terms of land area, is the Republic of Ireland or England larger?
England.
Correct. CJ,
Bank.
which bee is a South American nut also known as para or cream nut because of its flavour?
Brazil.
Correct. Vivian, in the periodic table, which chemical symbol represents neon?
NE.
Correct. Kevin, in the TV soap EastEnders, how is Pauline Fowler related to Ian Beale?
His aunt.
Correct. Christine,
Bank.
which country's players have dominated world table tennis since the 1980s?
Japan.
China. Sarah, in pop music, which girl group scored their first #1 with Never Ever?
All Saints.
Correct. George, what was the first name of Czech-born novelist Kafka, who was born in 1883?
Vladimir.
Franz. Aaron, what type of camera which produces instantaneous prints was invented in the late 1940s?
Polaroid.
Correct. CJ, in the animal kingdom, the yucca is a species of which insect?
Beetle.
Moth. Vivian, which city in the Midlands is served by New Street Station?
Birmingham.
Correct. Kevin, in education, which letter represents the lowest grade passing GCSE exam?
Bank.
Time's up. The correct answer was G. And in that round, you did slightly better, team. You banked £500. The question is, who is unlikely to stand the pressure as the time on the clock gets less? One of you is about to leave with nothing.
Round, and I'm absolutely distraught, and they're all off my Christmas list. It makes me very annoyed that they voted me off because I clearly wasn't the weakest link, and all I can hope for in the final rounds is that they don't even win a single penny. I think the next person who really should go should be Kevin. Vivian's not having a terribly good time, but I think Kevin is the one who's really going to crack under pressure.
Round 4, there's £1,040 in the bank so far. If you've been wide awake and on your toes, it could have been £3,000. There are 6 of you left. We are taking another 10 seconds off the clock. You now have just 2.5 minutes. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Aaron. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Aaron, in pop music, Millennium was a hit for which former member of Take That?
Robbie Williams.
Correct. Vivian, in the UK, what is traditionally given as a gift on the 15th wedding anniversary?
I don't know.
Crystal. Kevin, which cartoon show was turned into the film Bigger, Longer and Uncut in 1999?
Flintstones.
South Park. Christine, in politics, what is the German equivalent of the post of Prime Minister?
Sorry, I've forgotten.
Chancellor. Sarah, in seamanship, the bowline, figure 8 and reef are all types of what?
Not.
Correct. George, in which country is Copacabana Beach?
Brazil.
Correct. Aaron, in the paper, scissors, stone game, what wins over paper?
Scissors.
Correct. Vivian, which English princess became a pupil at St George's School, Ascot, in September 2000?
Princess Beatrice.
Correct. Kevin, how many scientific units are denoted by the prefix mega?
1,000.
Million. Christine, in the Bible, who was given a richly ornamented robe by his father, Jacob?
Joseph.
Correct. Sarah, in New York City, which borough is northeast of the Harlem River and home to the New York Zoological Society?
The Bronx.
Correct. George, which musical features the character Daddy Warbucks?
Annie.
Correct. Aaron, in food, which vegetable's name comes from the Latin meaning flowered cabbage?
Cauliflower.
Correct. Vivian, in football, Mark Venus of Ipswich Town was the first player to do what in the Premiership this season?
Score a hat-trick.
Score a goal. Kevin, in astrology, which sign falls between the star signs of Pisces and Taurus?
Sagittarius.
Aries. Christine, which American author won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1962?
Arthur Miller.
John Steinbeck. Sarah, in gardening, checkerboard is a variety of which flower?
Dahlia.
Fuchsia. George, in maths, if a train travels at 80 miles per hour, how far does it go in 2¼ hours?
200.
180 miles. Aaron, Stanley is the capital of which group of islands in the South Atlantic Ocean?
Falkland Islands.
Correct. Vivian.
Bank.
In the animal kingdom, a gosling is a young what?
Goose.
Correct. Kevin. In nature, what T describes the loss of water from a plant's leaves through tiny holes?
Pass.
Transpiration. Christine, in film, who played the Spice Girls manager in Spice World, the movie?
Hugh Laurie.
Richard E. Grant. Sarah. Time is up, and in that round, team, you managed to bank a shameful £20. This will be hard to decide, but who is the worst player? I urge you to vote off.
I think they'll vote Kevin off next, because he is weakest link.
Round 5, your total so far is £1,060. If you'd hit your targets, it would be £4,000. Another 10 seconds coming off the time. We start with the strongest link from the last round, that's Aaron. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Aaron, in dressmaking, featherweight, skirt weight and open-ended are all types of what?
Stitching.
Zips. Kevin, the Bridgewater Hall in Manchester is the home of which orchestra?
The Halle.
Correct. Christine, in literature, the female author Isabel Allende is from which South American country?
Brazil.
Chile. Sarah, which American state is known as the Equality State because it was the first in the world to give full voting rights to women?
Washington.
Wyoming. George, in nature, what is a monkey puzzle?
It's a tree.
Correct. Aaron, how many feet are there in 100 yards?
300.
Correct. Kevin, in which Thomas Hardy novel are Gabrielle Oak and Sergeant Troy rivals for the hand of Bathsheba Everdeen?
Sons and Daughters.
Far from the maddening crowd. Christine, complete the quote by Albert Einstein, God does not play what?
Don't know.
Dice. Sarah, which child star sang the song On the Good Ship Lollipop in 1934?
Shirley Temple.
Correct. George, Abyssinia is the former name of which country?
Ethiopia.
Correct. Aaron, in history, which bridge named after a mythological flying horse was the first to be captured on D-Day?
Pegasus.
Correct.
Bank.
Kevin, two branches of which tree appear on the national flag of Cyprus?
The Olive.
Correct. Christine, in television, what was Yossa Hughes' catchphrase in Boys from the Black Stuff?
Gizzard job.
Correct. Sarah, what X is a percussion instrument played by striking a row of wooden bars with small beaters?
Xylophone.
Correct. George,
Bank.
on which gymnastics apparatus might one see a Zukahara performed?
On the horse.
Correct. Aaron, The Rain in Spain is a song from which musical?
My Fair Lady.
Correct. Kevin, in clothing, what kind of garment is a bomber?
Jacket.
Correct.
Bank.
Christine, in UK finance, what does the P stand for in the acronym PAYE?
Pay.
Correct. Sarah, in the UK, which licence cost 37 pence when it was abolished in 1988?
A dog licence.
Correct. George,
Bank.
in film, whose portrayal of Wall Street shark Gordon Gekko won him an Oscar for Best Actor?
Douglas. Sorry, it's gone. Pass.
Michael Douglas. Aaron, Cape Wrath is a headland at the northwest tip of which... Time's up. I cannot complete the question. And in that round, team, you won £350. Is there someone here who shouldn't be? One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote on.
That George is the weakest link. I think they'll vote off Christine because there seems to be a two-sided thing going on there with the three on the one side and the three on the other side, and I knew it would turn out like that.
Round 6, you've won £1,410. You could have won £5,000. You have 4 players left. We are cutting another 10 seconds from your time. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's George. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. George, Josephine and Marie-Louise were the two wives of which French leader?
Napoleon.
Correct. Aaron, in the Gregorian calendar, how many months of the year have 30 days in them?
4.
Correct. Christine, which ocean lies between the Americas and Asia?
Pacific.
Correct. Sarah, the actor Michael Caine is said to have used which film as the inspiration for his stage name?
I don't know.
Caine Mutiny. George, what is the official language of Sardinia?
Italian.
Correct. Aaron, in the animal kingdom, the Russian blue is a breed of which domestic animal?
Cat.
Correct. Christine, what nationality was the playwright Joe Orton?
English.
Correct. Sarah, in pop music, what was the title of Men at Work's worldwide hit song about Australia?
Down Under.
Correct. George,
Bank.
which British statesman's 1955 portrait by artist Graham Sutherland was destroyed after his death on the instructions of his wife?
Winston Churchill.
Correct. Aaron, which Disney character played the Sorcerer's Apprentice in the film Fantasia?
Don't know.
Mickey Mouse. Christine, in which decade did Professor Rubik of Hungary invent his cube?
70s.
Correct. Sarah, in television, who presented a 1988 documentary on architecture called A Vision of Britain?
Prince Charles.
Correct. George, in drinks, which mixer, sometimes used with vodka or gin, contains quinine?
Orange.
Tonic. Aaron, which creatures suddenly and mysteriously died out at the end of the Mesozoic era?
Dinosaurs.
Correct. Christine, which planet in our solar system is the most similar to Venus in terms of size and mass?
Earth.
Correct. Sarah,
Bank.
what is the only mammal to achieve true flight?
The bat.
Correct. George, in David Lynch's film The Straight Story, what is Alvin Straight's preferred mode of transport?
Bicycle.
Lawnmower. Aaron, on TV, which character did Patrick Macnee play in The Avengers and The New Avengers?
Don't know.
Steed. Christine, in boxing. Right, time's up. In that round, team, you managed to bank £250, but who is very clearly hindering your progress? One of you is about to leave with nothing. Why Christine?
Just because I couldn't really remember who'd done what last round.
You couldn't, could you?
I think I probably was weaker than she was.
That's correct. George, why Christine?
Well, I probably had a worse round myself, but you've got to pick somebody, and unfortunately it was Christine.
Right. Well, team, Christine was the strongest link. She got every single question right. How did you think you did, Aaron?
Not particularly well. A couple I didn't know there.
Yeah. In fact, you were the worst player. But it's votes that count. Christine, you were the strongest link, but with 2 votes, the team have decided they want rid of you. Goodbye.
And they still voted me off. I think I was certainly stronger than both George and Sarah throughout the game. And Aaron was one let us down the last round. I don't know who they will vote off next because I can't understand how they're voting. I think possibly George.
Round 7, you have £1,660 out of the 6,000 you could have won. 3 of you left, another 10 seconds off the clock. You voted off the strongest link from the last round, so we'll start with the second strongest. That's Sarah. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Sarah, Notes from a Big Country is a book by Bill Bryson about which country?
America.
Correct. George, in pop music, which female singer had hits in 1993 with Dreams and in the year 2000 with Rise?
I don't know.
Gabrielle. Aaron, in maths, if the time is 9:40 a.m., how many minutes must pass before it's midday?
140.
Correct. Sarah, which founder member of the SDP was elected Chancellor of Oxford University in March 1987?
Shirley Williams.
Lord Jenkins. George, in English law, a divorce decree that brings a marriage to a legal end is a decree what?
Nice.
Absolute. Aaron, in English history, which MC did King John seal in 1215?
Magna Carta.
Correct. Sarah, what was the first name of Jane and Peter Fonda's actor father?
Henry.
Correct. George, in which month is the birthday of the present Duke of York?
April.
February. Aaron, in the animal kingdom, where does the male Darwin's frog carry his mate's eggs until they have developed into tiny frogs?
In its pouch.
In the mouth. But I'll accept pouch. Sarah, in music, which rap star's real name is Marshall Mathers?
Puff Daddy.
Eminem. George, with which sport would you associate David Campazzi?
Rugby.
Correct. Aaron, in 80s pop music, which of Ultravox's songs was held off the #1 spot by Joe Dolce's Shut Up Your Face?
No idea.
Vienna. Sarah, which author wrote the novel The Odessa File?
John le Carré.
Frederick Forsyth. George, which ship canal running inland from the Mersey estuary was constructed between 1887 and 1894?
The Manchester Ship Canal.
Correct.
Bang.
Aaron, what is the title of Mike Leigh's Oscar-winning film about Gilbert and Sullivan?
Mikado.
Topsy-turvy. Time is up, and having voted off so many weak links team, you managed in that round to bank a pathetic £20. Now, in round 8, you get the chance to treble what you bank, and that means in the next round, there's £3,000 to be won. The question is, who is least likely to help you raise the money in the bank? Think carefully.
Because I think I started to get a bit nervous and miss answers I might have got. I'm a bit annoyed with the others as well because I think I played better throughout the game. I think they might have been being ageist. Often when you've got 3 people left, you see people being sexist, 2 girls gang up on a guy or the other way around. Today it was the 2 old people and they ganged up on me.
Round 8 team. So far you've won £1,680 out of a possible £7,000. Sarah and George, just the 2 of you left. And this time you have only 90 seconds. But whatever you win in this round will be trebled and added to your total to make up your final prize money. £3,000 is at stake in this round. You voted off the strongest link, so we start with the second strongest link from the last round. That's Sarah. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Sarah, in which country did the Klondike Gold Rush of 1896 take place?
The USA.
Canada. George, which composer whose name was used by a popular singer in the 1960s wrote the music for the opera Hansel and Gretel?
Offenbach.
Engelbert Humperdinck. Sarah, Turin and Bologna are cities in which country?
Italy.
Correct. George, in which North African country was French author Albert Camus born?
Morocco.
Algeria. Sarah, which child music prodigy played the harpsichord for King George III at the age of 8?
Mozart.
Correct. George, which Andrew Lloyd Webber musical features the song The Music of the Night?
Phantom of the Opera.
Correct. Sarah.
Bank.
In politics, what, in the context of parliamentary elections, do the letters STV stand for?
I don't know.
Single transferable vote. George, the UK, Denmark and which other country joined the EEC in 1973?
Italy.
Ireland. Sarah, in food, a dish described as carbonade is beef cooked in which alcoholic beverage?
Beer.
Correct. George, in pop music, from which African country are the group Ladysmith Black Mambazo?
South Africa.
Correct. Sarah, which religious sect is named after Jacob Amman?
The Jacobites.
The Amish. George, which of the 7 wonders of the ancient world is situated near Giza in Egypt?
The Great Pyramid.
Correct. Sarah,
Bank.
who played the character of Jim Sark in the 1955? Time up. I can't complete the question, and you didn't make it to £1,000. You won only 120. We'll treble that and add it to the winnings from the previous rounds. That means prize money today of £2,040. But only one of you can take that money away. You'll now be playing against each other head to head. I'll ask alternate questions, best of 5. Whoever answers the most correctly wins. It's as simple as that. If there's a tie after 5, we'll go for sudden death until we have a winner. So, Sarah and George, with £2,040, let's play the weakest link. Sarah, as the strongest link in the last round, you have the choice of who goes first.
I'd like to go first, please.
Sarah. In 1839, Bradshaw's was the first publication to give national timetables for what form of transport?
Train.
The railway. I'll accept train. George. Who or what is Christine in Stephen King's novel of the same name?
A car.
That is the correct answer. Sarah. In television's Only Fools and Horses, what is the name of the block of flats that Rodney and Del Boy live in?
Nelson Mandela House.
That is the correct answer. George. In which decade of the 19th century did the Russian Tsar Alexander II introduce emancipation of the serfs?
In the 10s.
The correct answer is 1860s. Sarah. What is the official language of the Azores?
Portuguese.
That is the correct answer. George. Which are the only two pieces that can be legally moved at the start of a chess game?
A pawn and a knight.
That is correct. Sarah. In nature, where on a cricket are its ears?
On its hind legs.
No, its front legs. George. What was the name of the Labour Prime Minister defeated by Margaret Thatcher in the 1979 general election?
James Callaghan.
That is the correct answer. Sarah. The Musée d'Orsay in Paris was converted from what sort of building?
A church.
A railway station. George. If you answer this question correctly, you take away £2,040. What is the first name of Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones's son?
Dylan.
That is the correct answer.